to me talking about my version of Marauders in podcast form with Emma, finally, again.
Finally.
And you can tell that we're recording this on different days because now there's a gnome.
Yep.
So we didn't record these at the same time as the last one.
Spotify listeners.
Yeah. I know. I always feel so bad because I always like record as though everybody's watching on YouTube, but like most people are not. Like statistically, I know that most people are not, but I'm like, you should be watching on YouTube, you know? Anyway, so we should do questiones and stuff. Okay, somebody asked us dogs or cats. I think it's pretty. We both have a dog. But we do like this cat. This cat is good.
I don't not like cats.
Yeah, I don't not like cats either. I
have a dog.
I am like pretty allergic to cats, but I still like them. But just dogs are better. What? I didn't say it. Let's see. No, but somebody asked if you had a good time on vacation.
I did.
That's
really
good.
Fun.
Somebody also said, Emma, how are you? How did you spend this time? We missed you. Yay! So yeah, I think some people missed you.
It's good to feel appreciated.
Oh, this is a question. Do you guys ever have quote-unquote Marauders moments in high school where you got in trouble or something like that? We definitely do not. We're like the least rebellious people you'll ever meet in your life.
One time I just like forgot to ask my mom when I went to my friend's house. Like that's it.
Wow. Go off. One time it was like, do you remember that thing that they did at the end of school, freshman year? It's the only end of school that we've ever been to in high school. But how they would have that big picnic thing outside, and it was just like hot and gross and disgusting.
I think Ashley like threw a hot dog at me.
Nice.
It like hit me.
Nice. Good to know.
That was.
But what I did with that is I just pretended like I was like a student that was helping out with it, and I just left. And you were not supposed to be allowed to leave. Like, it was like a safety thing, and I just walked out and just looked very confident. And then I was trying to get into the school, and then I realized that it was locked, and I was like, oh shoot, somebody's going to come and find me, and realize that I'm trying to get back into the school even though we're all supposed to be outside. And then, like, a police officer, like the officer that works at my school, came up to me and he was like, oh, are you trying to get in? And I was like, yeah, I need to get something for help out there. And he was like, oh, I'll let you in. And so then I just went in and just hung out with my other friend who was like, who was in a class that wasn't going out that day. So it was pretty nice. That's basically my most rebellious moment.
One time it was like, there was like a tornado and they called out like some of the buses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they weren't my bus, but I just came here.
Yeah, she just walked to my house. I was actually just talking about that yesterday because me and my friend were talking about that. We don't live in a place that has tornadoes often, but we had tornadoes a couple years ago. We all were stuck at school, but I live literally a minute's walk from my school. And so I just, when they said, oh, anybody who can drive home, like, go, but only drivers, no walkers allowed, and I just ran out and ran to my house. And then Emma did it, too.
And my sister was here, she got off the bus because she got out early.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was, like, the only bus that got home from the middle schools because she was the first stop.
Yeah.
And then my mom drove her here for piano lessons, and she was like, Mom, there's a tornado.
But we still gotta have piano. Yeah, and then we just, like, ate ice cream. It was a pretty good time. That was very off the topic of what we were talking about. The question was, how rebellious are we?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody asked me if I have any funny fan encounters. That implies that I've had other types of fan encounters. I've never had a fan encounter.
It's like me. Like, that's it.
That's pretty much... There's some... Oh, there's one. If you were a dog, what type of dog would you be? So, like, what breed would you be? I think... I don't know. I would be a short one. We know that. I think that I might be a Norfolk Terrier like Buddy, but I don't know if that's the most accurate.
I don't know. I want to say my own dog, but
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yes, you give
I
off...
would not be like a giant dog.
You give off golden retriever vibes, though. You might be a golden retriever.
Okay.
But I don't know. Put your guesses in the comments.
Yeah. Give suggestions.
Give
so
suggestions.
If I ever ask this question again,
I
can know.
We know what's up. Yeah. Should we jump into it?
Yeah.
It's not going to be the happiest of episodes, just warning you. But it will have drama, which, in my opinion, is very exciting. So yeah, let's leap.
Let's jump.
Let's bound. Yeah. So the scene one, as I've said before, like I always picture there's a title sequence in between scene 1 and scene 2, like for all of mine. But this one is the most dramatic. If this was a TV show, this would be like a horror movie type situation. Like just suspenseful. I mean, it would be very suspenseful.
Music.
Yes, and like Mary
like
would be
shaky.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be Mary. She's out and about in the castle at night. She's clearly looking for something. Somebody clearly like lured her out of Gryffindor Tower. And it's just has a lot of tension. And then the camera pans, like she stops and the camera pans to see Avery and Mulciber with their wands out. And then the title sequence would start. I was very upset with me, I can already tell.
I love Mary.
I know. But so we know from the books that Avery and Mulciber used some sort of dark magic on Mary. And we don't know what the situation was, and I plan to keep it that way. I don't think it's very important to know what they did, just as long as we know that they used something with dark magic. And so the only other information I'll be giving is that, like, you know, we see her in the hospital wing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm keeping that ambiguous on purpose. Yeah. And those are the vibes. But yeah, the next scene, the next morning, Lily wakes up at like 5 a.m. because everybody in Gryffindor Tower is like awake, like up, like just everybody kind of knows what's happening. And Amber, one of Lily's roommates, is like, hey, something happened to Mary, and you should probably know about that because, you know, you're actually friends with Mary, so you should go to the hospital wing. And Lily, like, doesn't even, like, get, like, dressed. She just runs in her pajamas and just, like, runs the whole way there. And, like, everybody is, like half of Gryffindor is just, like, awake and, like, in the common room, and they see her go, and it's, like, scary or whatever. But then when she arrives, Mary's there, but she's, like, awake, and, like, that's good, you know. She just seems a little freaked out, as she should be.
Oh my gosh.
But Julie is already also there. Now, you know, Julie hasn't really been on good terms with either Mary or Lily, but, like, you know.
It's still your friend.
Yeah, it's like your...
That happens to your friend.
Mm-hmm, yeah, of course. And Lily's like, oh, like, maybe, you know, we'll finally get over this, like, you know, weird drama or whatever. So, you know, Lily goes over, asks Mary what happens, and Mary, you know, is just like, yeah, apparently Snape's friends think it's, like, a fun time to do this, and, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's not very happy at all, especially, like, with Lily, because she's like, you're still friends with Snape.
And she had just hung out with those people.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's like, she doesn't want to talk about it, and Lily's like, okay, like, Snape's friends? Like, I'm what? And Mary's not happy that, like, this is the question that she chooses to ask, and not like how
are you okay?
Yeah, like stuff like that. And Lily's a bit dumb in this situation, but you know, she was good in the last episode, so it's okay. But yeah, so she's like, this is the question, and she's like, yeah, but, you know, she still answers it, and she's like, yeah, it was Avery and Mulciber or whatever. And Lily's like, yeah, that's horrible. You know that I've always hated those ones as well. You know, Avery and Mulciber, I've always hated them. And Mary's just, like, done. She is overwhelmed. She's not having a good time. And so Julie goes off on her because she can't just sit here anymore. And she's like, oh, yeah, you know, you hate them so much. That's why you went and ditched us at Hogsmeade to go hang out with them. That's why you kept on hanging around them. You know, you're so desperate for them to like you and everything like that. And Lily's like, hold up. I hang out with them because of Snape. And Julie's like, oh, yeah, like, that makes it all better and everything like that. Like, it's a whole argument. And she's like, why are you defending him so much? Why are you just so desperate for him to like you? And she's like, well, that's not it, and blah, blah, blah. She's like, why are you so willing to leave all of your friends who've never said anything bad about you for people who are, like, constantly calling you slurs? Like, Julie's like, I don't understand you at all anymore, you know? Mary's just, like, done. Poor Mary at this point, but, you know, they're arguing, but then it comes to a point where like the Marauders are brought up, like, you know, James and Sirius, and the fact that Julie's dating Peter and everything, and Julie's like, oh yeah, it's because you think they're so terrible, they're so horrible, and you could never stand any of them, right? And Lily's like, yeah. And then Julie goes, if you actually hated them so much, you wouldn't be going around snogging Remus Lupin.
Peter, oh my gosh.
So Lily's like, what? Like, that's not a thing. What do you mean? And Julie's like, yeah. So Peter told me that he saw you guys in the prefect's common room together, and you didn't come out for, like, literally 2 hours. But she doesn't mention the map, because the map is still a secret.
Does she know? Does Julie?
Julie doesn't know about the map. So what Peter had told her is that he saw them, like, go into the room, and then just not come out for a while. And Lily's like, okay, that is not true. And she's like, yes, it is, and you're such a hypocrite for all of this and everything like that. And Lily's like, okay, Mary, like, you gotta trust me. You gotta know this isn't true. Like, you've actually been friends with me for the past month and a half. Like, you should know that it's not true, right? And then Mary's like, okay, but actually, I do know that you've been doing your prefects rounds with him, because Harper Morgenstern told me that you guys are doing it, but we just figured that you were too proud to tell anyone. But now, kind of looks like you guys are, like, dating or something. And Lily's like, guys, I'm not dating Remus. That's not what's happening. Gosh. And she's like, sure, whatever. But, you know, if you want to claim that, that's fine. But, like, are you at least just going to break off things with Snape if, like, you're hanging out with Remus? And she's like, no, like, I'm still friends with Snape. And they're like, just leave. Like, just leave. And that's the end of that argument, of that scene.
Oh my god.
Do you see what I mean by I'm getting way too excited about drama that's not real? Yeah. So that's kind of fun.
Wow.
Do you want to, shall I continue?
Mary just got, like, attacked.
I know.
And this is what's
happening. Mary,
wow. She's having a great time.
Don't worry. Mary's gonna get some peace and quiet. She's not mentioned for the next little bit, and that's just because she's, like, in the hospital wing, fully recovering, as she should.
But none of her friends are there.
They visit. It's okay. The rest of the drama,
better.
She does deserve better, for sure. But, like, you know, she's just, honestly, at this point, she's been really fed up with Lily for a while, too. As she should, because Lily's been weird. So, you know, the fact that, you know, she's kind of broken things off with Lily with the help of Julie, at this moment in time, not the worst decision. But yeah. So now, okay. Scene 3. So now, like, Lily does not have a single person that, like, she would like to talk to. Because, like, she doesn't want to talk to freaking Remus at this moment in time. Like, that's not going to happen. Certainly doesn't want to talk to...
like, oh, so you're dating him? And she immediately goes, no.
No, she's not going to do that. She's like, don't want to do that. She certainly doesn't want to go talk to Snape. Like, and she's like, I don't have, like, anybody else to go to. Like, nobody. And so, you know, she's just walking around, just trying to you know, ignore all of her problems, but she just wants some place that she can go. She happens to be walking around the 7th floor while she's wishing for this, and, you know, really wanting to have a quiet place just to herself, and then a door appears that she's never noticed, and Lily found the room of requirement. But yeah, so she when she opened it, what she saw, obviously she doesn't know what it is, but she just finds, like, a relatively small room that's just filled with bookshelves. And then when she, like, goes and, like, looks at the books, they're all Muggle books. Like, stuff from her childhood and stuff like that. And, like, she always took as many Muggle books as she could, but, like, it's really nice and sweet. And so she kind of just figures that it's always been there, and that it's just like, it's just a Muggle library, but just, like, nobody ever talks about it because they're wizards. But yeah, so she just kind of figures it's normal, but she kind of stays there for like the foreseeable future. You know, it's like her place to go. She kind of avoids everybody else for a while. And that's where she is. So now the next scene. So now, like, Mary has, like, because of Julie, and now, like, Julie's on Mary's side, she kind of has been, like, she's now hanging out with the Marauders as well. And this is a good time to talk about how the Marauders group dynamic has kind of changed throughout the past year. Because, like, because now it includes Julie, and because it includes Julie is friends with a 6th-year Gryffindor named Bonnie Jordan. And so, like, she's been there, and then because of that, Marlene was hanging out with them more, which is, like, why James thinks that Sirius has a crush on Marlene. Because they've, like, been, like, hanging out a little bit more than usual.
Hi, at this moment in the podcast, I definitely forgot to, like, clear up what happened in the last episode, like, talk about the whole Marlene Sirius situation. I was supposed to, I just didn't. So yeah, basically what ended up going down with that is, you know, Sirius confronted Marlene and was like, hey, so, like, I heard James might have told you something. And she was like, that you have a crush on me? He's like, I don't. And she's like, I didn't really believe that you did at all. But she's like, so do you want me to, like, tell him that? Like, how do we want to deal with this? And he's like, let's just let him think it. And she said, that sounds like a fun idea. And that's basically what they did for the next little while. So yeah, it's not brought up here. Maybe it'll be brought up later, but, you know, they kind of resolved that. Marlene knows that Sirius doesn't actually have a crush on her, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. Now, back to your regularly scheduled podcasting.
But now that, since this happened, they're like, okay, now this is our friend group, and that would include, you know, obviously James, Sirius, Remus, Peter, but now Mary, Marlene, and Bonnie as well. So, like, that's the vibe. And occasionally, yeah, and Julie, and occasionally Dorcas as well, because she's like, you know, why not? But yeah, so they're all at dinner. They had just visited Mary and just, like, talked with her and everything, and they had kind of found out, like, what had happened, and they're, like, bad. Especially Sirius, James, and Marlene. Like, they don't have, like, control over their emotions. I feel like they're just the ones that'll just let loose.
Just the Quidditch players.
Literally, just the Quidditch players. They're for sure the most angry about this. They're ready to fight anyone and everything. And Remus is like, hey, what if we didn't do that? Because I feel like if we go off and attack them, it'll basically, like, it'll be not just as bad, but it'll still be, like...
Not good.
Yeah, it's not good to fight violence with more violence, and that's what Remus is all about. Remus does not want to hurt people, he just would like for them to stop. But obviously, like, Sirius and James, they don't abide by that. They're like, if somebody, you know, hurts our friend, we're gonna destroy them. You know, that's just kind of how they are. But yeah, so after dinner, Sirius and James and Marlene decide that they're going to follow Avery and Bolsover out into the hallway, and also, like, other Slytherins. They're probably outnumbered. And, you know, at first they're just, like, you know, talking to them, and they're like, oh, hey, like, what did you do?
What have you been up to?
Yeah, what have you been up to? Everything been fun for you? And everything like that, you know, very sarcastic, just, like, being... It's a Hogwarts fight. It has to start with those you know, snarky sentences.
What have you been up to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've been
attacking.
You've been attacking any Muggleborns recently, and they're like, maybe.
By chance.
Yeah, by chance. Yeah, and everything like that. And so, but then of course it escalates into a legit fight. And they're throwing curses, and Avery and Bolsover are, like, throwing curses that the others haven't heard of before. But actually, they were Snape's curses, you know, some of the ones that he's come up with and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's just, like, not good. And then, like, the others, like, run into the entrance hall, and they're like, okay, guys, we can literally hear you from outside, like, having this fight, and McGonagall's about to show up. So either y'all gotta, like, leave, or, like, something, or, you know, everybody here is gonna get in trouble. And now, usually, when they get in fights like this, like, they just let themselves get caught. But this time, they're like, no, this is serious, we're gonna cover it up. So they do. And they all pretend like it's fine, and when McGonagall comes out, she's like, okay, like, somebody obviously was stung, and they're like, I did it to myself. Like, it's fine. And everything like that.
They're all just like, James is just like hugging Avery.
Yeah, they're like, it's all good, like, it's whatever, but, like, you know, they all collectively agreed that, like, this was for realsies
like,
now.
Like,
yeah, they're like, we're friends now, McGonagall, what do you mean? And, you know.
Like, didn't Mary just get attacked?
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like, now they're like, this is serious business now. It's kind of turning more from, like, pranking and we don't mind if we get in trouble type of stuff to, like, they're legitimately really angry now, as they should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically James and Sirius at this point, and honestly Marlene too, but, like, she has a little bit more sense than they do. This is basically what changes them from being like, yeah, we're just gonna pull pranks on people to, like, you know, any basically any Slytherins, we're gonna fight them and stuff like that. Yeah, whoops, hope that doesn't go bad at all. Anyway.
Because nothing in this episode has.
No, nothing in this episode has gone wrong. But then the next scene, this is really where the drama starts. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
So, like, this has happened, and now they're all, like, this whole group that I mentioned previously, minus Mary, of course, because she is living her hospital life. Yeah, also, I think Madame Pomfrey totally overheard that whole thing happen, and she's like, Lily and Remus?
She's like,
she's their biggest shipper. She's like, I love Lily and Remus. That's so anyway, besides the fact.
It's like next one when she's like, hey,
she's like, so you been hanging out with Lily? And he's like, oh my gosh, not again. No, but anyway, so they're all chilling, and the Marauders, like, you know, dorm, and they're just talking about what's happening, and they're talking about what, like, Avery and Mulciber said to them, and James and Sirius are like, okay, we're gonna start matching their energy, and Remus is like, okay, what if we didn't do that? What if we don't want to be as bad as they are? And Julie is, like, not on his side with this, and she's like, no, she's like, are you even, like, on our side? And he's like, yeah, I am. And she's like, well, I don't think you are, because Lily isn't on our side. And then she drops the bomb again. And she's like, and you've been snogging Lily. And he's like, what? He's like, literally, excuse me. Man, what is happening? I know. And I'm just like, can you just imagine everybody's reaction to that? Because, like, James is like, what? He's like, my friend? Like, kissing Lily? What is happening? And then Sirius,
man.
And then think of Sirius,
yeah.
too. He's like, hold on, is that what? He's for sure not interested in me anymore. So he's, like, upset about that. And then frickin', you know, Peter is like,
the real betrayal, okay?
Peter's like, I did not intend for this to happen. He's like, this is not what I meant. Marlene is like, this is entertaining. She's like, this is happening. And Bonnie is like, why did I join this friend group? But yeah, so that's, you know, it's just everybody's initial reaction. But Remus is like, okay, calm down. I'm definitely not. Like, what is happening? And she's like, yes, you are. Peter told me. And Peter's like, I did not. This is not what I meant to happen. Oh, but Remus is like, gosh. Peter? And he's like, okay, well, listen, you two were in the prefect common room for, like, literally an hour. Like, it's not that hard to figure out what you were doing. And he's like, hold on. Like, you need to calm down. She wasn't even there. He's sticking to his story of, like, Lily was not even in the room and everything like that. He's like, the map was clearly wrong. And now they've brought up the map. And everybody's like, what's the map? And Sirius is like, can we get the girls, like, out of the room here so we can, like, talk about this for realsies? And the girls are like, no. We're not just leaving. Marlene's like, I'm not about to leave when this is the most interesting thing to ever happen here. No, but it's tea, but, like, you know.
She's like, do you want me to go write my charms essay real quick?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, no, but Peter is like, you know, you just denied it. Like, what is happening here? And he's like, you didn't, like, tell me to keep it a secret. He's like, I didn't think you would have to tell you to keep it a secret, to not say that you saw me hanging out with Lily. It's, like, a whole thing. But yeah, Peter feels bad. Everything is happening. Eventually, they convince the girls to leave. They, like, all shut up, and they're like, we're not talking about this until they leave, because they want to talk about, like, the map. You know, they feel like it's a very important, and it is. So eventually the girls leave for a little bit. You know, they put a silencing charm on the door. And Peter's like, listen, I saw what I saw. Like, that was a thing. And he's like, okay, who do you trust more? The map or me? Like, your best friend. And Peter's like, okay, like, I guess I should be trusting you more. But then, you know, Remus kind of, like, looks at Sirius. And he's like, okay, wouldn't I have told you about this? Like, we tell each other everything. You know, think back to, you know, what happened last episode. He's like,
yeah.
I feel like, you know, don't you feel like I would have told you that? And Sirius was like, you know, that's kind of facts right there. Because, like, he would have told me, you know, if he was literally dating Lily, you know, and blah, 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 blah. And so that's basically how Remus gets out of it, because of Sirius. Which then Remus feels terrible about, because he is friends with Lily and he has been hanging out with her and he hasn't told Sirius about it. And so that's a whole thing. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so then the girls are brought back into the room and everything is, like, explained to them, but, like, without the map. But basically they're like, yeah, so we've all decided that we believe Remus. And Julie's like, excuse me?
Peter, what?
She's like, Peter, you just switched? And he's like, I trust him more than, like, my information. She's like, okay, but no, you, like, had evidence. Like, I'm so confused by this. And she's mad. And she's like, honestly, you should be taking my side here. And he's like, nope. But yeah, so they go off and they, like, have a fight. Like, this is, like, a serious thing.
Okay, so you have Remus and Lily, who are secretly friends. And Peter, who saw them on the map.
Yeah.
And it's, like, the map, or, like, the person who helped to make the map. And then Sirius, who likes Remus, and James, who likes Lily.
Yes. The tea is unmatched.
And then Julie, who's dating Peter.
Who hates Lily. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of the bomb that is dropped. Yeah, but Julie and Peter at this moment in time, not doing great. But this just kind of, they were kind of going downhill before, but now this is like, you know, they might not make it through this together. Jeez. You know? So that's also the tea that, like, they might break up.
Yeah.
There's so much happening. But anyway.
Oh, jeez. I'm glad I'm not actually involved.
I know, this would be so stressful. Okay, but anyway, later that night, don't worry, this is the last scene. So Remus is in bed, just absolutely stressing out, because he's like, what is he supposed to do here? He's like, I just lied about all of this. I feel terrible about all that. And, like, just, it's such a stressful situation for literally no reason. And so he's there, and guess who comes to have a little chat? I wonder who. Is it Sirius? I feel like we should make this, like, a thing, like, Sirius coming in for a chat. Like, he has to have, like, a theme song whenever he does this, because he does this a lot.
Chat time.
Chat time with Sirius and Remus. Yeah, so it's another chat time. But yeah, so he just comes in, he's like, so, like, this was a lot today, you know? And Remus is like, yeah, you're telling me. He's like, this is, like, the worst, and also, like, it's getting up to the full moon, and everything like that. He's like, he
has to just come clean.
Yeah, he's like, you know, but they're talking about it, and this time they start talking about why Remus is like, okay, you shouldn't be, like, beating up the Slytherins. I'm really not okay with that, regardless of whatever they do. He's like, it goes against, like, his moral compass here, but it doesn't go against that for Sirius, and so Sirius is giving his side and everything like that.
Because Remus is already in, like, such a, like, a precarious situation.
Yeah.
Where, like, he could hurt someone.
Yeah.
Like,
so he's not okay with people hurting anybody else ever, basically. And that becomes like his biggest thing in the war, that he's like, I don't even want to, like, hurt people even though I know that they're terrible, type of thing. because, you know, he doesn't think that anybody really deserves that. Anyway, love Remus. But no, so he's talking about all this, and he's like, I don't think that you should do that. And he's like, okay, but, like, if they're being mean to us, like, from Sirius's perspective, he's like, I know, like, these families and stuff like that, some of the only ways that, you know, they really, you know, get through to them is to just be mean right back to them, type of thing, like that. So they're having an actual civil conversation about this, besides what was happening before, which was just, like, you know, they kind of agreed to disagree. But Sirius is like, he's like, okay, I'm sorry. He's like, I want to trust you, but, like, how could the map have just messed up that bad? Like, really? And Remus is like, okay, so here's the thing. He decides to tell him at least part of the truth. He doesn't tell him everything, but he's like, okay, well, yeah, I have definitely spoken to Lily before. Like, we are prefects together, we do our rounds together, whatever.
I'm like stressed.
I know, I'm sorry. It'll only get worse. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. No, but he's like, I don't know. He's just like, it, you know, imagine me trying to tell James that I'm, like, just casually friends with Lily. Like, that's not going to go over well. It's like, also think about it from her perspective. I don't want to say that we're friends when, like, she's friends with Snape and everything like that. He's like, and we're not even, he dials back their friendship a lot. He's like, we're not even, like, really great friends, you know? He's like, we just talk sometimes. And he's like, and yeah, we talked, but, like, we're certainly not dating, you know? And Sirius is like, okay, thank you for telling me that. I'm not going to tell anybody else. And he actually doesn't, unlike Peter. But he's like, yeah, he's like, you know, James would realistically probably not understand that at all. Like, how to just casually be friends with a girl. That's not really James's vibe.
Especially Lily.
Especially Lily. But no, Sirius especially gets it because, after all, he hangs out with Regulus a lot, you know? And he talks with him, and he knows that, like, if anybody ever found out about it, he would probably also deny it completely, and everything like that. So he understands a lot more.
Than, like, Remus knows he understands.
Yeah. So he's like, it's nice. But yeah, Remus is still just feels bad about it, the whole thing, and he's like, it's all just messed up. And Sirius is like, no, like, you did your best, like, whatever, it'll be okay. But then, you know, after, this is, you know, the Wolfstar stuff that's just great. Once they, like, have this serious conversation, stop. Once they have this melancholy conversation, Sirius is like, just cracks up, and Remus is like, why are you laughing? Like, what is happening? And he's like, I can't stop imagining Lily Evans being like, I'm gonna make out with Remus Lupin. And they just both start losing it and, like, dying laughing, because he's like, I cannot believe that. He's like, I can't believe that I ever believed that even for a second, but that was a thing that was happening, because he's like, that's so ridiculous that Lily would be like, hey, Remus. Yeah, and they end up laughing so hard about that, and he's like, yeah, no, that would never happen. He's like, it wouldn't. And yeah, that's kind of the end of this one. So, ended on somewhat of a happy-ish.
Dude, the two last episodes have been, like, and then the last scene is like, okay, like,
I have to end it on a good note. I'm not gonna end it being depressing.
Yeah.
Who do you think I am?
That's, I'm saying I'm glad that's,
Yeah. You're glad that I'm like that.
Otherwise I would be like, alright, bring Matt back in.
Bring Matt back! Bring Jake back. Bring everybody back. My goodness. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. But here's the thing. Next episode...
Oh, don't even say anything.
Next episode's gonna be a good time.
It's like next episode, it's all just like finally like
yeah.
good. It's like,
no, what I will say is I do want to mentally prepare people for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Next episode. Episode after that. The one after that, I literally wrote down, I don't know, but something fun has to happen, Elizabeth. So it will only be like good things in that one. I will make sure that that is a wholesome episode after that to make up for it. And then the last couple episodes will be like regular. I feel like a regular mix of like good and bad that we've had up until then. So we're getting through a rough patch, but it's Marauders. You have to know that this is coming, you know? People keep on saying that I'm gonna end on like a bad note. I promise you that I'm not going to end the season
like the
on a
entire,
bad note.
Oh, just the like I thought you meant like the entire thing. You're like,
well, the entire thing. I mean, like everybody dies.
Oh my gosh!
You know,
wow.
Kind of have to do that. But no. But people think I'm going to end the season on a bad note, and that's just not the vibe I have ever. It will be happy.
Literally, it's just like these episodes where like it's sad. Like the last bit is still, okay.
Yeah, it'll be good. Don't worry. I'll fix everything. But yeah, so hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, big shout out to Hamalia Black and Benji Wilson as always for, cover art music. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye. It needs to happen. You know this.